So on today's episode of Draw This Again, I wanted to do something a bit different. I decided that it'd be a bit fun to do a bit of a commentary while I do this. Today we'll be going over the lore and the backstory of my first OC. And for those of you that don't know what an OC is an original character. Artists tend to make original characters a lot. We make them for ongoing series that we may want to produce in the future, or it's just a fun little side project for us. But a lot of artists spend a lot of time developing these characters and giving them personalities, so I just wanted to share who my character is and how they came to be. So we'll start off with her character origin and the lore residing around Elisa. Elisa Liddle is currently a 22-year-old female. She is of white and Caucasian descent. Her nickname is either Ellie, Liz, or Lizzie. Elisa Liddle was born and raised in London, England in 1876, along with her sister Laura Liddle. Elisa's mother, Alice, had her shortly after the death of Dr. Angus Bumby. Elisa's mother, Alice, was on the brink of insanity. The AU in which this takes place is after the game Alice the Madness Returns. How I came to create Elisa was solely and purely out of the love for the game. I had been a big fan of it since the American McGee's Alice, so when I came across Madness Returns, I knew that I had to create a character relating towards the series. Elisa is one of the oldest OCs that I have, and she is my first OC. So we'll go on next to the general appearance of Elisa. Elisa was born with heterochromia. It's a difference in the coloration, usually in the iris, but it can also be in hair or skin. Her left eye is a deep blue, and her right eye is a moss green. Her hair is blonde and ombres from a orange to a deep red. She has a tattoo engraved on her skin under her right eye, and her attire consists of old Victorian clothing, mainly consisting of corsets, poofy shirt, basically what they wore back in the day with a mix of steampunk from here and there. Her color scheme generally consists of a deep blue, kind of ocean, and a dark purple, most like eggplant if I could describe it. Elisa likes roses. She likes the smell of them. She likes looking at them. She likes flowers in general, but roses are her absolute favorite. She loves her sister Laura. Laura is a really big part of Elisa's character development and story. She loves to read, she loves to sing, and she loves to dance. The things that Elisa don't really like are her own thoughts. Because of who she is and who her mother is, she has not really been fond of thinking to herself and being encased in her own thoughts. She doesn't really like her mother too much, nor does she like her father, and the thing that she hates the most is being alone. Elisa's mother, on the verge of insanity, reality itself was no longer apparent to her. She could no longer tell the difference between what was real and what wasn't. Her world was slowly shifting, changing, but was that for the better? She grew to love a man, and despite the world around her, yet still she decided to give birth to her child, giving her all the world had to offer. Elisa was born into a world of the unknown, and would soon discover her own true madness. First, it was her mother. Alice was a good mother at the start of their relationship. She tended to her children very well, but unaware of her mother's past, the abuse her and her sister were subjugated to almost mentally scarred them for life. I say almost because it basically affected Elisa a lot less than it affected Laura. I still don't really have art of Laura because I haven't had time to develop on this story because I've been working on other projects, but Laura is more so deeply affected than Elisa. Because Alice could no longer tell the difference between the fantasy that goes on in her mind and reality itself, she would often confuse her daughters for herself and her sister, locking them in rooms, forgetting that they ever existed from time to time. Her children were often unfed and filthy, and while living with their mother, Elisa grew resentment for her. From her perspective, she was always seen as a child, playing the role of an adult, but never truly a parent in the child's life. Second, it was her father. Elisa doesn't remember much of him. She'd only seen him once throughout her childhood, and that's after he left Alice alone with the girls and never returned. Because of that, Alice had become very unstable and went more insane as a result to it. There isn't much information about Elisa's father, but him being a deadbeat dad to his children. Elisa resents him the most, even though she loves her mother. She just can't stand her mother because he could have gotten help for Alice, but instead he got scared and left his children to suffer from an insane mother. She hopes to never speak or see him again. Thirdly, it was her sister. Laura is Eliza's younger sister. She adores her greatly, and she thinks that she's one of the good things that has come out of her life. Laura is Eliza's reason to live, and motivation to do better for both of them. Sadly, Laura isn't as strong as her sister. She is a very weak person. Her bones break easily, and she is often ill. Eliza has always taken care of her sister, even if it meant her needs needed to come first. And as time progressed on, Eliza's life was starting to look a little bit more promising. After escaping her mother, her and her sister soon ended up at the Houndsditch Home for Wayward Youth. Here is where Eliza obtained her tattoo that you see under her right eye. In the AU, after Bumby is dead, there is a new antagonist that takes over this world. I haven't really drawn who that antagonist is, but I already know the big bad evil in a sense. And this antagonist is doing the most crucial things. While Bumby was, sexually harassing the children that was under his care, now the kids within the orphanage are being sold off to families to be abused or used for organs or worse. It's a very dark tale, but the telling of Alice, or any Alice in Wonderland story, has always been a bit grim in my opinion, and I like that aspect and that dynamic when it comes to storytelling. After Eliza got old enough to get a job, she started to work, and then she started to go to school. She learned to read, she learned to write, just so she could provide for her sister and give her better care. She wanted to do everything that she could to help her sister. Laura, unlike Eliza, was deemed unfit to live in today's society and was thrown in the asylum. And ever since then, Eliza has made it her mission to help and treat her sister. And that's kind of where the backstory leads off. I do have creator's notes. When creating Eliza's backstory, I wanted it to be a bit similar to the game. And during the time I made this character, I was going through a lot emotionally. And I know that the backstory has a lot of dark undertones. I was taking a piece of my life and putting all of that hurt that I experienced into this one character. I made Eliza back around 2013 to 2014, and I've been working on developing her in the best way I can. And so far, I feel the backstory ties in with the AU pretty well, and there's a lot more that I can work on. So a little bit about Eliza's family. Laura Liddle. Currently, at the time where Eliza is an adult, Laura is 1 year younger than Eliza. She is a very small and very fragile human being. She's a very sickly person. But she can walk normally, just like any other person. It's often advised for her to be laying down and conserving her energy. But she hates being bedridden too. She is a very mentally unstable person. She often talks to herself if not taken care of properly. She is very much capable of hurting herself. When I made Laura as a supporting character, I didn't imagine making art of her, and I believe the only one I've done of it since then is when I made basically like a comic, so to speak. And this is way back in the day, way back in the day, where me and a group of friends, we just wanted to make a comic. Each page was a different artist, but the story was still continuing on. Alice Liddle is the mother of Eliza and Laura. After her daughters ran away from her, she never took the time to look for them, wandering within her own mind, trying to make new of the new wonderland that awaits her. She was currently located within the asylum, waiting for her madness to stop. I didn't want to change the way that Alice was overall. I barely even wanted to mention her, to be honest. I don't like dwelling on the parents too much, especially when you create characters that are based off of already pre-existing shows. I just don't like taking away from somebody else's creation. That's why I basically made a love child and created this whole entire universe of my own. I wanted to be more focused on Eliza rather than her mother. But I know that because I made Eliza's mother one of her key issues and key focal points, like one of the triumphs that she has to get over, that I would have to implement her a lot into the backstory. But I try and keep it as brief as possible. Now, as for her father, his age is unknown, his appearance is unknown, and who he is unknown. Now, who he is to me is not unknown. I know exactly who her father is. That's a little bit more for, show but don't tell. A good indicator of who her father is stems from her hair, or her heterochromia. Her hair goes from a very prominent light blonde to a nice dusty blonde, or orange in a sense, dusty blonde, all the way to a deep red. And the thing about her hair, which is a really fun fact, her hair, and this is only in Wonderland, because she has her own wonderland of her own, she just doesn't know it. But in her wonderland, basically, the more insane that she becomes, the redder her hair gets. She kind of has, I would say, split personality. Basically, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And on the surface level, she's a very sweet individual, but on the psychological level and the mental level, she is more torn and she is more troubled than you think. And so that's just a big indicator as to who her father is. Going back to her father, his name and face are both unknown to Eliza. She's barely gotten a glimpse of him as a child. She's only seen him once. Laura has no clue what their father looks like because she was not old enough to really understand or remember his image. All that they know is that he left them and that their mother was left alone to starve and die with the children, you know? He was basically essentially every deadbeat dad ever. And this character has a lot taken from me. Like, the relationship with her mother is kind of a lot like the relationship with my mother. The relationship with her father is similar to the relationship with my father. Basically, this is a self-insert. I'm sorry. As for the creator notes, I made the father a deadbeat. I thought it would be a different dynamic, seeing as Alice grew up with both of her parents. And yeah, both of her parents died in the game. She still got a chance to, like, experience them. Yeah, it was a young age, but she still had a couple of good years to experience them. And instead of making it, you know, a cliche and like killing her parents off, I decided to make one of them non-existent and not a parent because he didn't want to be there. Like, essentially, when I was going for the father character or the father role when making these characters, because when I make characters, I make a whole entire family and then I don't know when to stop. But yeah, he basically hooked up with Alice because Alice is freaking gorgeous, you know, belle of the ball kind of type. Freaking beautiful. Like, in the game, she was extremely beautiful to me. So I'm just like, Alice is just freaking gorgeous. And she lands this very sophisticated guy. She lands this like high class guy who like works, he like sells, he like trades, you know what I'm saying? He's kind of like an accountant too, you know? Like, in a sense, I'm trying to think of jobs back then that were like really, really important and high paying, to like tell the difference between the social class that we see in the game. Because in the game, Alice is an orphan being abused by everybody around her. She gets sexually abused by guards when she goes through her fits. She's getting basically blackmailed and money laundered from her, from people that she trusts, you know what I'm saying? And like, I'm pretty sure the only one that kind of protects her in that game, I say kind of because like that game is kind of all over the place, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure the only one that kind of like actually looks out for her is like the madam, like the lady pimp. That's what I'm gonna call her. I'll show you a reference of who I'm talking about, but she was pretty shitty too. Like, everybody in this game is pretty shitty, an abuser and a manipulator, but we're not about to go into the logistics and to psychoanalyze a game because the shit ain't real. Moving on. Alice basically has these people who are just overall shitty people and people that you really shouldn't have in your life, like, at all. Eliza basically then further on gets, you know, her degree in psychology. That's what she was working towards. That's what she was working for. She was getting into psychology because, as I said before, her sister is within the asylum along with her mother. And her main priority is to get her sister out of the asylum. So, being the little smart googie egg that she is, she basically gets her doctorate as a psychologist, and then she starts working in this asylum. And then she starts seeing how exactly they were treating her sister and her mother. And then that's when she learns to sympathize with the way that her mother is. And she actually understands now why her mother became the way she did. She had all these people abusing her, and she just writ it off as her being like a child in a sense, because basically within Alice's mind, she is a child. She has this childlike adolescence to where if anything bad happens to her, she'll black out and go to Wonderland. And that's just like not a very healthy coping mechanism, but it's like you can tell that this is one of the things that fueled her insanity. So Eliza has finally done what she sought out to do, basically. She is a doctor within the asylum that's holding both her mother and her sister. So within the asylum, Eliza starts experiencing these fits of hysteria. And that is basically where we push into my favorite part of the game. Hysteria was like the shit for me. It was, oh my god. I love the mechanic. I love the look of it. And I just wanted to implement that and create that 3 times. So when Eliza goes into Wonderland, and as you can see within the video, basically there are different forms of Eliza. And so the first image that you see is Eliza in her like everyday attire. Like, you know, she's very, very formal, very, very reserved. And she's just a respectable young lady overall throughout my time with developing her. The second image that you see is her first form. Her first form is when she first enters her Wonderland. And I think kind of how she enters her Wonderland is basically like, so there's some shitty shit going on in an asylum. We already know this. We've seen the game. One of the nurses notices that Eliza is basically like giving her mother and her sister extra medication or unprescribed medication, you know, medication to deal with her sister's health, medication to help her mother like calm the fuck down with that crazy shit. So out of like spite, is spite the word? Yeah, I think spite is the word, because why the fuck not? Like, when you question like the motives of the characters within this game, everybody had a shitty reason for doing everything that they did, but it wasn't a justifiable reason. So I think that I can pick the bare minimum when it comes to the actions of other individuals, especially like characters who I haven't drawn and who aren't really a big playing factor within the plot. Like, I just need you to move the plot along kind of type deal. But basically puts like this really weird type of drug. It was like a new type of drug because after the whole entire orphanage ordeal and what happened there, what's happening in the asylum is on like another level. Like, they're testing on the patients because they don't really give a fuck. Like, back in the day, we know this, I know this, you know this. It's even showed being depicted in the game where they take like a needle and take it up her nose and then stick it in her brain and then they knock it back. Like, that used to kill people. So they're doing experiments, and so she takes this new type of drug and she puts it in Eliza's drink. And so that is something that basically kicks Eliza's mental into like overdrive. Like, she's fucking going crazy, going nuts. Not like literally, but in her mind, it's all over the place. It's like an 8-ball, but replace the part in the middle with your brain. Yeah, that's what I'm going for here. I'm not even gonna edit that out. So once she first originally goes into Wonderland, all of her dress is like torn and shredded to pieces because that's a part of herself that she hates. That's a facade that she has to put on. In reality, she's fairly really cynical. She's like a smart ass pretty much. Like, she'll say shit under her breath, but she'll go back to the cute and prissy and proper girl that everybody, you know, wants her to be, the girl that she needs to be, because she needs to be this because she has to look like a professional, because if she doesn't, she could get her license revoked, she could be deemed unfit to live in society herself. So she needs to have this prestige aura around her to where she brings off confidence and class. Because, you know, like I said, with Alice coming from like basically a low class family because she's a fucking orphan. Like, well, Alice does have income, but I'm pretty sure she doesn't really know where that income is. It's like the inherited from her like family. But yeah, but that plays into farther into the story. Not trying to get ahead of myself. And so she's just trying to like basically look like new money. And when you look like new money, you're basically like putting up a front. Like, yeah, it's like basically the 1800s style of flexing. Then you go to like just something more so of a casual look. This look that I had created for her was basically like, oh well, she needs something to wear that's like extremely simple, because the gown that I put her in her before was like posh. It was like a nightgown kind of thing. And then I ended up making it slimmer because it was supposed to like represent like the Japanese kind of dress. At some point in time, she does go overseas with how successful she is in her career, mostly in China and Japan, but we're not gonna go there because that's not really it. Those are just side plots. Like, how far my mind has gone with creating this character is like literally astounding to me, because I haven't even drawn this shit yet, which is hilarious. But moving back on, we get to the Dr. Jekyll and the Mr. Hyde kind of feel, basically the two sides of her. And And again, this is the original design. This is the first design I ever made. This is the first reference sheet I have ever made in my life. So this is the original design. I made a few tweaks and changes, but you know, to like update it a bit because I didn't like how it was coming off, you know what I'm saying? I just wanted to shift it up but still keep the same concept going slightly. Basically, you see two forms of Elisa. You see the part of herself that like resents the innocence within her and resents what she has to be, and then you see her true self, the powerful woman that she wants to be. Like, she wants to take names and kick ass. Like, that's how much of a strong person that she wants to be, because she had been vulnerable her whole entire life. So to show weakness is just something that's hard for her to truly do. Like, she knows that she's confident, she just has to be weak for the public, because if she shows that type of strength, back in the day women couldn't really do a lot of shit. They really couldn't do a lot of shit back in the day. So to exert that kind of strength in a man's world could get her into a lot of trouble. And so she has basically three forms. Her first form is just a little lighthearted. Her second form, she kind of like shifts in between the two, and then her third form is full on she-devil. Like, I'm giving like Devilman Crybaby vibes. In this video, I am drawing the original concept. There is an up-to-date version on my Instagram. It will be linked below if you really want to like check into it and you want to see how I update it and progress the character. But yeah, Elisa basically has different forms, and it's just like really cool and really nice. That's honestly it. And this is my character. I absolutely adore this character. I've been working on this character for about 8 years now, and while I haven't done anything with it personally, I love the story because it's something that I can tell people and people can find it entertaining. But this is just a passion project that I have invested so much time into. And every time I draw Elisa, it's with meaning, it's with effort, and it's with care, because I have been molding her essentially since I've been a babes. But yeah, this is my baby, and I just wanted to share it with all of you. Thank you for giving me your time today. If you like this style of draw this again, then maybe I'll do it again. If you don't, that's cool. But yeah, thanks for watching the video. If you liked the video, leave a like, comment down below if you're interested more in my characters, because I have a lot of characters that I don't really talk about because I'm still working on them, honestly. So yeah. If you like the music that's in this video, I'll have it linked below as well. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!